Because when I walked into a room, I wanted someone to say, wow, this guy must have something going on or he wouldn't have a beautiful woman like that. Stop being a reader of other people's information and start creating your own.
Welcome back to another episode of the Austin Zaback Show. Today we have Michael Banovac on the show, and Michael's a dude that I actually met in a great big luxury house. He was the developer, and man, ever since I met him, I told him, I was like, dude, I want to get to know you. I want to talk to you. I want to sit down, and I figured what better way than just to bring you on the show. So I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Well, thanks for having me, Austin. Really appreciate it.
And you're looking way better than I am. We talked about that a little bit before the show. My struggle in fitting into suits because my weight tends to fluctuate. So I've already learned something. I've got to like get more consistent in the gym so I can look like that.
Psychology, man. You know, honestly, like when I look my best, I perform my best.
Man, I know, dude. It's so true. And you know, there's mornings right now, like literally this morning, where I couldn't figure out like what I wanted to wear, right?
Right.
And I felt like a woman for a minute. Like I'm like, you know, like, oh my gosh, like what do I want to wear? And I tried on like 3 different things, and I didn't like the way I looked, you know. And I was like, man, like. And really it is because like I just don't, I'm about 10 pounds overweight right now, which is not a lot, but you know, you get in your own head and you're like, oh man, you know, I'm on camera and like, what the heck, right?
I don't know if you face this, but I face this all the time where it's like you're your biggest fan and your biggest critic, and every day I wake up feeling broke and underaccomplished. Do you ever feel that way?
All the time, bro. Dude, oh my gosh. And it's tough. You have to manage it, right? Yeah. Because I get that a lot, and then if I'm not careful, I'll actually go down that rabbit hole, and I will actually not like love myself as much as I should, and I'll eventually get, dude. There's been seasons of my life where I get down on myself if I'm not careful, right? And which is wild because you can achieve all this crap and still get down and be like, oh, it's not enough. Like I gotta do more. You know, I gotta go harder. I gotta go bigger, right?
I know.
You know, well, I love it, man. I'm excited to kind of dive into how you got to where you're at and what you do. So I guess maybe catch me up and the audience up on like, you know, where are you at? Like, obviously you're a developer, okay? You developed a really dope house, by the way. We were talking about before the show. And that one sold for what? What'd you say before the show?
1.9.
1.9.
Yeah.
Dude, that was a cool house for 1.9.
Thank
Dang,
you.
I should have bought that thing.
We built the whole subdivision. So my dad and I have been working together now for about 12 years. And you learn a lot. You know, and subdivision development is no easy feat. It is a pain in the ass. But you learn through the hardships. And that's what I've learned in real estate. It's such a roller coaster ride where one day you're up, one day you're down, one day you're all around. But you create these products that endure. That's the thing that I love most about it.
You're almost like an artist. Like I was watching like a video, like where you know, do you follow Ines Yilmazar? I'm probably pronouncing it.
Yeah.
He does the big house tours on
I do.
YouTube.
He just did Grant Cardone's house.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
And he was with Graham Stephan, and they were talking, and you know, a developer, he literally said, he's like, a developer is like an artist.
Yeah.
Like you, for, you know, a lot of times these development projects take years and years of your life.
Yep.
Right? And every little nook and cranny, and I've never developed, so I'm you know, just kind of based on what I've heard and seen, but it really is cool, you know, when you think about it.
Thank you. Well, it's a team effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get into development? Like, obviously, you do it with your dad now, and not only development, but subdivision development, right? How'd you get into that?
Well, ironically enough, I mean, I'll go back all the way to college. So I went to ASU, Barrett Honors, you know, went to London School of Economics and Harvard, came back. We were in the midst of a Great Recession. This is 2011, and my dad had the idea with my brother, let's just start buying houses at the courthouse steps and let's just go. And I said, okay, let's just do it. Yeah. So we were broke. We went from living in a $5 million house in PV to splitting rent in a $1,000 a month apartment in Scottsdale. But I still had my Porsche Carrera 4 that I paid cash for. And I was just a broke college student with big aspirations and big dreams. And I had the vision of saying, do I want to go into PWM, private wealth management? I actually got a salaried job right out of college, which was hard to do in 2011. Or do I bet on my dad? And I knew my dad had made and lost so many fortunes in his life that I had to bet on my dad.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did, because from 2011 to 2014, we did about 168 fix and flips personally.
Wow.
And it was a lot of work, a lot of learning experience. You know, we were featured in Forbes and Fortune magazine and Money, and that was a big deal back then, right? With property wars, I saw you had one of the Doug Hopkins on. And that was a tough business, you know, because the irony of it, the big article that we were in that got national exposure basically said, hey, we break even on more than half of them. We lose money on about 10 or 15% of them, and the remainder we make money. And the makes outweigh the losses, but we were lucky because we hit the curve right when it was on the trajectory back up. And I just wish I kept more of those properties.
Right. Don't we all, man? Oh my gosh. My mentor told me when I first got into real estate, he said, Austin, keep as many as you can.
That's right.
You know, and to be honest with you, I didn't really take his advice. And I should have, you know, and like I now own a handful. And 2023, I plan to acquire a lot more. But man, looking back, I've sold thousands of homes and I haven't kept. Like, I'm like, dude, it's really frustrating, right? It's like, why didn't I do that? You know, so that's really cool. So what does one have to do? Like, does development even make sense? Like in the market we're in right now, like can a guy get into the development game and make money?
I mean, think you always can, but the biggest difficulty is cash, you know, and so liquidity is going to get tighter and tighter as we head into 2023. We're not going to see a rescission in interest rates probably till Q4, if even then. And the biggest problem I see with so many people in our space is they always want to chase return and chase deals. But they don't understand that liquidity can dry up overnight. And if you don't have cash to carry, you're dead in the water.
Wow.
And so that happens, you know. And so what I always did is I was a lot more pragmatic than my father because he made and lost hundreds of millions of dollars throughout his career. And so I don't know if I played it safe or I was just more pragmatic, but I bought my first house at 22, rented it, bought my second house at 24, rented it, bought my third house at 26. You kind of get the idea.
Sure.
Rented it and just kept them all. And that was my saving grace because I loaded up on low interest debt and I just cash flowed all of these things. They doubled in value across the board. And my goal was just buy real estate and hold.
Yeah.
But now it's getting more complicated because with a 7% interest carry over 30 years, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Sure.
And so what's going to happen in my mind is prices are going to have to come down or interest rates are going to have to come down, one or the other, or we're going to see a stalemate in the market.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, who are like, you know, you see back in 08 and I wasn't in real estate at the time. Right. But like, you know, I watch a lot of content and I was obviously around and I understood entrepreneurship and things of that nature. And developers are always the first to like go. I mean, like, dude, I remember driving around when I was a kid, right? And just seeing the vacant properties everywhere and abandoned properties. And it's like, whoa, right? Like, how you know, developers are so, I feel like their egos get really big when everything's good, right? And they go freaking big. I mean, they like, you know, and then they're the first to lose a lot of times too, right? So obviously you've done it right. You've done it well. You understand. But you understand, I think, you know, the fundamentals of it and you know, so like what would be the right thing to do now? I mean, does a guy raise capital and develop that way? I mean, but you're right. I mean, or you just have to get a good deal.
I think the key is you have to be patient and you have to follow quality. Because quality, what I did is I started acquiring properties at key areas, Arcadia, Paradise Valley, areas that I knew were blue chip. Because regardless of recessions, those carry weight. And so when you have those things and you control them, you just have a lot more runway, right? Yeah. And so, you know, with the rental game, I love the cash flow. I love the write-offs. I love not having to worry about, oh my God, how am I going to eat next month? Because I have rental income coming in perpetuity. But with the development deals, you just have to be more pragmatic. And you have to be sure that if you take that risk, you have multiple outs.
Sure.
And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize, right? We get, Elon Musk is a great example. We get success bias. And we think, oh, Jesus, man, everything we touch is going to turn to gold or sold in our case. And that's not necessarily the case, right?
Sure.
We're all in bull markets. We all think we're superstars. And then when we see the turn, which we did in January 2022, you saw a lot of people run out of cash. And I've seen it myself. I mean, guys worth 10, 20, 30, $100 million guys. You start to learn quickly liquidity or access to cash equivalent investments is your saving grace in a market like this.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And what is the guy like? Because liquidity, I mean, you know, just having all that cash sitting around, you know, like there's got to be a balance to that too, right? Because, I mean, nobody just wants to sit on piles of cash, do they? And not make any money on their cash. So, like, how do you... Hey, real quick, I just want you to do me a huge favor. If you're enjoying the show and you're enjoying all the amazing guests that we've been having on lately, then do me a massive favor and smash the like button. Drop a comment down below and subscribe if you have not already. I would greatly appreciate it. It would mean the world to me, and we will be able to bring on a lot more big names if you help us out. Now, let's get back to the show. How do you balance that out and have enough reserves, even running a company, right? Like, we run a fairly large operation, and our overhead is, you know, probably somewhere in the ballpark of 6 figures a month, right? And, you know, you've got to kind of always balance that. Like, well, how much cash do we want in the bank? Right? And then, because the cash in the bank is just dead. I mean, but you need it, though. You need the reserves, right? And then how much is too much and how much is not enough, you know?
For me, I think it's interest rate arbitrage. You know, so for me, you always tackle friends and family first because, you know, if shit hits the fan, they'll be a little more lenient on terms. And so for me, what I always do is I try to stick around people that have a lot of money and learn from them, garner knowledge from them. And what I'll do is in high interest rate environments like this, I'll borrow money at 6 or 7%, and I can put it in cash and cash equivalents at 4.5%. So for me, having that 2%, you know, carry is way outweighs not having liquidity to do a deal when it comes up.
Gotcha.
That's how I play the game. So I pay for that insurance policy to have access to multiple, you know, 6 figures at all times in case I need it. And to me, that lets me sleep well at night because I got access to cash.
And you only pay a couple points, right?
With the arbitrage, right? Because you can basically, you can get, you know, even CDs right now or tips or treasuries at 4%, 4.5%, which has pretty, you know, liquid reserves. And I'll pay, let's say 6.5%, 7% for that money. So let's say I borrow $500,000 and I only have to pay 2.5% on that money. I'd rather have the cash sitting in my bank account.
Walk me through that if I'm a newbie. If I'm watching right now, right, and I don't know, and everything you just said went right over my head, right? Explain to me how, like, walk me through that in layman's terms.
Well, I think people have to understand, right? Banking system it's all about access to capital and liquidity. So when interest rates are really low, which they were the past decade, any person, let's say we start at 0, any newbie out of the market, their goal needs to be borrow as much as you possibly can at sub 4% on long-term interest debt. And I did that through buying houses, right? I'd buy a house, put 10% down, didn't have any cash, but I had enough with my 3% coming back, right, to pay for my down payment, and then it cash flowed itself and kept doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. But what people don't realize is it's like a scale, right? So money is a game. It's a game of when I'm in high stress, I need cash. When I'm not in high stress, I need to borrow as much money as I can on income-producing assets. And, you know, and play that game. And so what I did is low interest, borrow as much as I can. High interest, arbitrage as much as I can.
I love that. Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. And you don't hear very many people talking about that, right? I mean, like, I had a guy on the other day, we were talking about, like, infinite banking, and, you know, that's a whole nother ball. Yeah, Devin Burr, right? And he got coached by Noggle. I forget his name, Chris Noggle, maybe?
Okay.
But he's apparently, like, the OG when it comes to infinite banking, right? But that blew my mind because I had never really thought about that as a viable option to go, like, you know, I guess, like, control the narrative of money, right? And, you know, instead of being controlled by the way that the world works, right? And I think people, including me, like, people have to learn how to have financial literacy.
100%.
And understand how to play the game, right? Because if you don't know how to play the game, you're going to get played.
You can only leverage 4 things, and a lot of people can't leverage all. They can't even leverage one, and that's technology, people, money, or knowledge.
Wow.
And so those 4 things have to be leveraged at all time. If you can do all 4, you're a billionaire. Many can't, right? If you can do 2 or 3, you're probably a millionaire. If you can do 1, you're having financial problems. But what most people don't understand is we all have our little niche that we're good at, our little micro niche that makes us unique. And instead of trying to reinvent the wheel and compete with everyone else, do what did you well to get to this point and just keep duplicating it.
I love that. Yeah. So when you got into development, you know, have you only ever developed, because obviously I know you for luxury, single family development, right? Have you ever done any other types of development?
Well, you know, a lot of this knowledge came from my parents. So my mom ran a very successful national furniture store. She was the manager here in Scottsdale of a furniture store called Christ Collection. They were the biggest competitor of Robin Stuckey at the time. My dad has always been a developer. He's done office, several thousand units of apartments, and residential. And I learned a lot, right? You learn a lot by being around adults who have made and lost fortunes. And I was always around adults. You know, I was listening in about what people did right, what people did wrong, hubris, Icarus, all these things that come so close to the sun and they just get blown out. And a lot of it is because of ego. And you really have to understand, you have to get eyes, you have to get a following, you have to be a strong marketer, you have to look the part. But you also have a semblance of humility where you're constantly teaching people as you learn along the way. And that's hard for us to do because we all want to be the star. We all want to be the hero. But some people, you can't save them. They have to save themselves. But in order to do that, you have to play the game right yourself. And it's a very difficult game.
I always say you got to walk the line like Johnny Cash, right? And the line I'm referring to is the line you just described of confidence, okay? Being a good marketer, right? Because, I mean, let's face it, in 2023, being a good marketer a lot of the times is being a little bit flashy. Showing, hey, look at my watch, look at my car, look at my office, look at what I've done, right? So, okay, if that's what being a good marketer is 9 times out of 10, then I've also got to, like you say, I've got to resemble humility. And that is the line that you're talking about. It's very difficult to walk, right? So how does one walk that line, and do you ever fall off the line?
Well, it's a tough question because, you know, for me, I have a relationship business too. Wrote a book in 2017 about how to be irresistible, and it was for women. But I have a lot of male clients too, and this plays perfectly into that with what we call layers of legitimacy. In this world, in the United States, we're into celebrity worship, whether we like it or not, right? We look up to certain people. Why? Because other people do. So for us, those layers of legitimacy are reaffirmed in our lives based on what we see subconsciously. And those in the know. You know, I walk in, I see you have a Hublot on, I see you drive a Lamborghini SUV, I see what type of home that you live in, I see what you wear, I see how you carry yourself. Those are all registers like Terminator 2 into a microcomputer where you're boom, 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 boom. As you're probably doing the same with me.
Sure.
This guy's well-dressed, he drives a Bentley, he's got a Rolex, whatever, right? All that shit means nothing, but what it does do is it gets you in the door. And when it gets you in the door, it's important for people to listen and learn, because you have knowledge that I have absolutely no knowledge about that I need to learn, and probably vice versa. 100%. And it's that importance of collaboration. So many people think they can do it alone. You can't. In relationships, you have to understand it's a community-based system, right? You want to learn how to attract girls, right? You want to learn how to attract the best guy. You have to become the best version of yourself before you can attract the best version of others. And that's in every facet of your life: health, wealth, dress, travel, the way you treat people, kindness. And it's funny because now we're in a world where, oh, you have all these followers on Instagram, or you drive this car. That guy's an asshole. That guy's a prick, or whatever. I get that all the time.
All the time.
You do too. But you get past that. Winners look at other winners and they want to learn. They want to collaborate. I don't want to put anyone down. I want to be around people that build me up, that I can learn from. And that's the difference between someone that wants to win versus someone that hasn't won, that's putting those down, that have done something that they have yet to do. And to me, that's what life's about: constantly learning, collaborating, bringing those up around you, and it's a community effect.
Where do you learn all that information? Like, if you're new to the understanding, because what you just described is a very, I mean, if I, you know, like when I look at you and what you just described is years or decades in the making of shaping and molding your mentality to get to where you are today, to understand everything that you just described, right? So if somebody's new, and they, you know, like what can they do? I mean, like, what book do they pick up? What coaching program do they join? Like, I mean, what, you know, or is it just life? I mean, you got to go through life to learn.
I think you have to be a studier. You have to be someone that constantly absorbs information, and someone that's not afraid to be a huge cheerleader of yourself and understand that you cannot have negative self-talk. One of the things that changed in my life is, as a teenager, I wasn't really that great with girls. You know, I wasn't that popular. I was kind of a dorky, smart kid that always dressed up. People made fun of me, etc. And I made it a point in my 20s. I said, I'm going to be a really good, guy with girls. And so how do I do it? I create a persona. I'm the millionaire date doctor. Like, this guy doesn't know his ass. He's never been married. He doesn't know anything. He's never had a hot girlfriend, blah, 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 blah. Well, how do you become it? You mark yourself as it. And then once you start learning and you go on thousands of dates, whether it's through me, my clients, those in my proximity, you start to learn what works and what doesn't. And you have to be your authentic best self. You just have to be yourself. Be kind, be pragmatic, but also don't take shit from people. And for me, with women especially, as I learned, your partner is a representation of you. Whatever it is that you want to be, people must see in the other person that you're with. Whether you're gay, straight, bi, doesn't even matter. But what matters is this person is a representation of you. So I wanted someone beautiful, educated, strong work ethic, someone that made a lot of money, because when I walked into a room, I wanted someone to say, wow, this guy must have something going on, or he wouldn't have a beautiful woman like that on his arm.
I love that. Yeah. That's really cool. How did you, I think a lot of people, they grow up, they have, you say you're a little dorky and this and that, and everybody, I think, has childhood trauma, right? Everybody goes through their own version of whatever that is.
Right.
I mean, I've sat down with a lot of people in my life, and I know you have too. Yeah. And the one commonality, the common denominator that I can find is that everybody's gone through something that in their eyes is trauma, right? And a lot of people, the trauma ends up negatively impacting their future. They never learn how to take that trauma and use it to their advantage.
Yes.
Right? So you obviously took that trauma, and you made a decision in your 20s. You said, hey, whoa, hold on a minute. I'm not going to be that guy anymore.
Yep.
I want to be that guy over there.
Right.
And you made a decision, and then you went and became that guy, right? So I don't think it's that easy for everybody. So, like, for somebody who's gone through something and they want to be that guy or that girl over there, but they're not there yet, what do they do to get there?
Well, the first thing you want to do is that we have a concept called follow the stars. So, when I was growing up, every girl liked Brad Pitt. They like Leonardo DiCaprio, right? They like George Clooney. Yeah. And I thought, well, who are their stylists? What do they wear? How do they dress? How do they act? Pick up People magazine, 50 most beautiful people in the world. What are those things that make them attractive? And when you really boil it down, it's not that much.
Right.
They have a spray tan. They have white teeth. They're in shape. They're strong communicators. They're well-dressed. They're kind. They're authoritative. They can public speak. They have a story. Yeah. And that story is the most important thing in your life, because all we're doing is we're doing 3 steps. SCC, I teach this to all my clients. First is story. If you don't have your story down, 10, 15-second pitch, you're out of the room. Once you get past your story, it's commonality. What do Austin and I have in common? Oh, you like this? I like this. Shit, we love it together. Let's do it. The third thing is conversion. How do we win-win by being in each other's lives? If we can pull all 3 of those off, it's a well worthwhile endeavor.
Wow, it's so fascinating. So talk to me about the story.
Yeah.
What's your story? What's your 10 to 15 second story?
I'm a real estate developer that helps people not only build beautiful homes, but more importantly, helps build their lives.
I love that.
Yeah.
Didn't even take you 10 or 15. you did it in 5. I love that. So then everybody can create a story. How do they get the rest of it? How do they get, they just have to start being it? You said a little while ago, like be it, right? Become it, but some people say, well, you're faking it till you make it. Is that what we do?
You got to learn it. You got to, I love that word that you use, that construct of fake it till you make it. My construct has always been learn it till you earn it. Because in anything in life, you have to learn what it is that you're excited about. Maybe it was exotic cars like me. I love exotic cars. That was my vice for so long. And then you probably mentioned it in some of your podcasts. Having owned all that stuff, it's a liability.
Oh, yeah.
It's great. It's cool. But once that, coolness factor wears off after 14 days, 21 days, like, shit, this is kind of a pain in the ass. Can't park it. Can't insure it. People are scratching it. They're looking at me funny. Like, you're like, I don't even know. This has a utility, but where does it fit, right? Watches. You're probably into watch culture. I have friends that have 7-figure watch collections, and I love them. And I was so into them.
If you've ever wanted to get into wholesaling real estate and you want to learn how to flip contracts and wholesale, right? Maybe you're brand new, maybe you've never wholesaled a deal, or maybe you're even doing a couple of deals a month right now, but you want to learn how to do more. Instead of joining my coaching program or somebody else's coaching program, we're actually looking to hire So go ahead and message me 480-418-5339 and send me a text message opportunity. Okay, so if you want to work with me, you want to work with my incredible team, you want all of our leads, you want all of our systems, all of our processes, everything, right? And I've done about 2,000 wholesale deals in my career. Then go ahead, shoot me a text, 480-418-5339, and message me opportunity. And look, especially if you're in my state, okay, the state of Arizona. If you live in Arizona and you want to get into wholesaling, this especially is an opportunity for you, because you can come sit right in this office with my entire team and be a part of one of the biggest wholesaling companies in the country. I look forward to talking to you.
Got back into them, and then I realized, God, I got 6 figures of watches I don't need this stuff. But you learn about it, right? It creates opportunity. Learn what it is you want to become. You want to be a great guy with women. Learn what women want. You want to be a great real estate agent. What are the top producing real estate agents doing in your town? Copy and paste. You want to be a guy that's well dressed. Who are the best dressed guys in your area that you look up to?
Sure.
Copy and paste.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. What do people have to do? I'm curious on the women thing. I'm engaged now, but you know, like, I think a lot of people struggle with that. And while we're on the topic, we may as well talk about it. Like, what are the things that highly attractive or highly desirable men do that women are after?
Yeah. The truth is, you have to have a story and you have to have resilience in yourself. What I mean by that is, the most attractive women in the world are used to being pursued. So what you have to do is you have to create an authority and a story that attracts that level of caliber of woman, and you have to be okay with them not wanting you. That's very hard for a man's psyche to do.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to walk away, B, able to voice your opinion, and C, you have to say, hey, this is what I require, this is what I desire. Does this fit with what you want? And if it doesn't, don't waste their time. And if it does, learn more about them. Be a gentleman, be kind, be generous, be all those things, but reciprocate what they share with you.
Sure.
And so if they don't, if they're not what you want, don't waste their time, and certainly don't waste yours. So many guys fall down the rabbit hole. She's so hot. Oh my God, she's so good in bed. She's all these things. If she is not a strong woman, if she is not articulate, if she doesn't have a moral compass, don't go down that road. Because it's going to be a succubus situation where they take all of your energy and dispose it. And all those things, if your personal life is disrupted, so too will your business life.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And I think you're so right. You just have to become the guy. I heard one time, like, write down a list of the things that your partner, or I think it is, write down a list of the things you want in a partner, right? And then think of that person and what would they want in a partner, right? And now make a list of that. Now you have to become that.
Exactly. Hit the nail on the head. You must become what it is that you want to attract.
Yeah.
I got guys calling me all the time. Oh, I want this girl. She's hot. She's a 10. She's a supermodel. I said, dude, you're a best of 5. So how are you gonna make that distinction between why would that girl want you? What qualities do you possess that she would be attracted to? And the answer is, if you can't answer that question, you are not yet at that stage to attract that caliber of woman.
You're not there, and you got to go be single, and you got to go work on it, right? And get it together.
That's right.
And then get back into the market.
And the irony is, most people think it has to do with money. It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with ambition and your ability to tell a story articulately. Because a woman is most attracted to trust, kindness, and authority. If you have those 3 things and she trusts you, she's safe with you, she believes in what it is that you're trying to create together, you're going to attract some very high caliber people into your life.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the ambition thing 100%. Yeah. I think that there's been many times even in my own life where I didn't necessarily have a lot of money, but I had a ton of friggin' ambition. And finding a woman was not difficult, right?
Yeah.
Because, with ambition, you will eventually have money, right? I mean, like, it's just a byproduct of having ambition. You will have the other things that are the luxury things or whatever that in life that we want. Those will be attracted to you when you have that ambition, that work ethic, and you are that person.
100%.
How did you get into that bit? So obviously you're a developer. you're many things. You're an agent. You're, you know, how did you get into that world? You talk to me about like the business that you have and coaching and relationships and what is that, you know?
So what happened is in 2013, my mom came to me after a long 5-year relationship, and she says, I need help dating online. And this is way before Tinder and, you know, all these different, you know, Bumble and all this stuff. And I said, Mom, that's a terrible idea. You know, I think it's just not the best way to meet people. And that was, again, I didn't know what I was talking about. But as her son, I loved her. I cared about her. I wanted her to find happiness in a partner. And I said, you know what? We can do this. I said, give me 6 months. Let me really treat it as a business and take your profile and let's make it in its best light in the eyes of a man. And so we did, and at that time, for her age group, she became one of the top 10 most searched women in the United States in an online dating platform. And that kind of spread from there, right? So, you know, women in their 50s started coming to me, can you write my profile? Can you help me take photos? And then a buddy of mine from high school was in Connecticut doing an internet-based startup, and we had lunch one day, and he says, you need to turn this into a business. I said, well, move back here. I'll give you 40% of the business. You run the back end. I'll be the face, and let's do it.
Wow.
Then, to create authority, we thought we need to write a book. So in 2017, we came out with a book, sold about 20,000 copies. And
best-selling author. Yep.
Yeah. And that kind of gave us a good platform to say we know what we're talking about. And what I did is I read that book, studied that book, and implemented those same constructs in my life. And since then, I've been really blessed because I've had wonderful partners in my life. Some have worked, some haven't. But again, you go back and you fall back to those constructs of this is what I need and this is what I deserve in my own life. How do I attract it?
Right. How do you create authority? You know, obviously writing a book is one. I hear a lot, you know, public speaking is obviously, you said a little while ago, like the celebrity culture that we live in, right? Where people idolize that. Yeah. You know, it's because the other people do. Right. And that, correct me if I'm wrong, is in fact authority, right? It's they have authority because, oh my gosh, everybody, you know, they're all looking at that guy. He must know what he's talking about, right? So, like, how do you create that? And I've heard a lot of people talk about that. You know, what does one do? Like, maybe they can't write a book. I mean, like, are there other more simple ways to create authority?
The simplest way to create authority is to be a professional. The best way to be a professional is to start from the inside out. How do you speak eloquently? How do you dress well? How do you have a story of ambition, not necessarily success? And how do you share your talents that you're innately gifted with the world? And then most importantly, how do you get on other people's stages? Grant Cardone talks about this all the time. The stage game is the biggest game because it's the halo effect. You're coming on my podcast, I'm on your podcast, we cross-pollinate, my followers follow you, your followers follow me, it's a win-win. Most people don't understand that game. And the halo effect is a big one because I started learning that with celebrities, right? You know, met Kate Beckinsale, met Kevin Costner, met all these celebrities, and with those photos, with those stories, with those experiences, people thought, oh man, he must be a celebrity.
Right.
It had nothing to do with it. It had to do with close proximity of opportunity. That opportunity creates more opportunities, and those people come to you wanting to learn how you did it. And you teach them.
Yeah.
I mean, my biggest problem, honestly, is I probably don't monetize it the best because I want to help everyone. And then I begin to realize maybe I need to focus more on monetizing my stuff because I'm giving all this stuff away for free, which is great. I'm trying to help a lot of people. But sometimes that comes at your own expense of what am I doing for myself, right? I don't know if you ever fall into that.
Oh my gosh, all the time. Yeah, right now I'm in that right now where I'm like, you know, I want to continue to pour into people, and there's a lot of things that we're really good at, you know, like wholesaling or whatever, right? And everybody wants to learn it, you know, and I don't really monetize, you know, I need to, right? I really need to figure that out, and we're going to figure that out very, very soon, you know, and but that's a whole business too, right? Like I've got to go and I've got to pour into that now, and I've got to scale that and create a community and a course and a mastermind and and you know, I mean, it's a lot of work, right? And so you've got to figure it out. You said the stage effect, and I love that, right? You know, I think in 2023, like this is considered a stage,
100%,
right? And I think people maybe they didn't catch that, right? They thought you meant like an actual stage, and although that is definitely one of them as well, right? The camera and the podcast or the you know, that is a stage too.
100%.
So how do people go and maybe like start to do that more, like get on other people's podcasts or start their own podcast?
The best way to do that is to create your own construct. And the best way to do that is to have guests on that you want to learn from, that you're interested in learning from, and just give. You know, so for me, I wanted to have people on my podcast that were more successful than me, that were doing something that I have yet to do, and learn from them. You know, a friend of mine was the co-founder of Credit.com, Adam Levin, and his podcast blew me away because I learned how much cash you need to have in the bank, liquidity, you know, coming from money. His family once owned the Madison Square Garden in the 70s and MGM Studios. So very interesting construct. And then I started learning there's so many stories out there that aren't just our own. And when you really start to dive in and learn from people, that is the synergistic component that exponentially grows. What people don't realize is the more content you put out there that is helping people learn, including yourself, makes you an authority. What do I mean by that? Let's go back to the halo effect. When they Google search a certain name and it says Austin Zaback next to Michael Banovac, right? Or vice versa. We're cross-pollinating. And so immediately someone thinks, wow, Austin's an authority. He's with this guy. He's with this gal. He knows what he's talking about. And that gives you all the credibility in the world to get into those rooms. And that's what life's about.
I couldn't agree more, man. You're right on the money. And I've never had anybody on the pod that has really broken it down like you're breaking it down. And that's why I'm trying to dive as deep as I can, you know, because I want people to hear it. And I'm curious, right? Like, because I think for me, a lot of it was really natural for me. Like, I didn't think about it, right? I knew. Like, I didn't even know I was doing a lot of it for now I do, obviously, but like for so many years, I just knew. I just innately knew what I needed to do to get into the room, right? And I did it, you know, and I just kept doing it. And I did it until you know, and I'm still doing it, right? And man, but so many people, they overcomplicate the crap out of it. Like, they're like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? It's like, it's really simple. It's not hard, right? Buy a nice suit. Like, there's things that you could go do right now that you can start to elevate, right? And get closer to getting into the room that you're trying to get into. You know, man, that's so powerful. What do you think about actual public speaking? You know, I've in full transparency, I've believe it or not, have struggled with that my whole life. You know, dude, you could tell me there's 100 million people watching that camera right now. It wouldn't bother me, right? It just wouldn't bother me. I don't know why. The camera doesn't bother me. Maybe it did at one point. I don't remember. I don't think it ever bothered me, but for some reason, dude, like, I could go and what's interesting is I'm really good in front of people. Other people tell me, like, I'll go talk to my team of 100 people or whatever, and people are like, oh, dude, you're a natural, you're awesome at that, and I don't believe them. I'm like, no, I'm not. You know, no, I'm not. And so when I get up to go on a really big stage of people, dude, I get nervous, like, to this day. And I know a lot of other people do. Obviously, it's the #1 fear in America. If you Google it, right? How do you overcome that?
Repetition. And I think you never overcome fear, because the ironic construct of what people don't realize, I'm sure you have this too, is the more successful you become, the more insecure you become. And I'll say that because when you've accomplished something, your mind tricks you into thinking you have something to lose as opposed to something to gain. And so what a lot of people don't realize, when you have nothing, you have absolutely nothing to lose. You need to go out on stages. You need to talk. You need to interact with people. You need to dress the part. You need to even put yourself in those situations that make you feel wealthy. You know, like, go to a 5-star hotel, have a $5 iced tea, sit there for 5 hours, and just absorb that information into your body until you become comfortable with it. My biggest problem was I didn't know how to navigate. You know, for me, I was always good in high-end settings. I was not good in low-end settings because it made me feel comfortable, because it made me confront my fear, right? Fear of poverty, fear of going broke. That was always my biggest problem. You know, growing up, I was asked this question last night, like, what gives you the tenacity to get up every morning and try to succeed? I wake up feeling broke, unaccomplished, and today is a new day that I have to do something with my life.
But how do you not let that run your life? Like, because a lot of times I'll wake up and I'll feel like that, but then you become paralyzed. Again, if you're not really careful. So how do you feel like that, but also go take massive action and not let fear stop you from taking that action?
Because, the key game, and you hit the nail on the head, is you have to put into place daily, repetitious events that seem so mundane, but after a long period of time, create success. Here's a couple examples for you. I wanted to become in better shape. I couldn't put my ass in a gym and work out every single day. I was too lazy, but I could walk. So I did that every single day, for a long period of time. Made a difference. I wanted to own real estate. I didn't want to have a lot of debt. So what I did in my early 20s, I put $100 a day to pay down my principal, and within 5 years, I paid off my first property.
Wow.
Within 7 years, I paid off my second, and so forth. And so it was those little daily deposits done every single day, where it's just so mundane and boring. But over the long term, you're like, oh my God! I remember at 27 years old, so many people don't do two things. You want to be wealthy, you have to track your money, number one, track your net worth, and B, you have to understand cash flow statements. And so I understand daily what money is coming in, what money is going out. Where's the money? And if you can track it, once you start to put emphasis on it, importance on it, it starts to grow. When you don't know it, you can't grow it. Simple as that.
Interesting. Yeah, I heard one, somebody told me one time that, you've got to, it's also a catch-22 in a sense of like, I'll give you an example. Like he was basically saying, he's like, okay, look, let's say you have debt. Let's say you have credit card debt, right? And your goal is to get out of debt,
right?
Okay, but your focus is on the debt,
right?
Right. So you're always looking at the debt, trying to get rid of the debt.
Right.
You will accumulate more debt,
right? Because
your focus is on the debt,
right?
Although you have good intention, your focus is in the wrong place. Your focus should be on making more money,
right?
Forget about the debt,
right?
The debt will take care of itself, right? But that's a tough thing to actually walk out. I think for people, I mean, I've experienced that, right? Like, how do you walk that out every day? And I guess to your point of just the daily mundane thing that you can do, or multiple things that you can do every day, they give you the victory that you need, I think, to maybe have the confidence.
100%.
Okay.
You need to do a minimum of 2 to 3 things every day: your health, your money, and what are you doing to grow in the future? And so if you can accomplish, even in small little tokens, those 3 things, you're going to be extremely successful. And everyone says, what's the quickest way to becoming a millionaire? How do you do it? Well, I'll tell you how I did it. Every dollar I made in my 20s, I put towards down payments of real estate. Income producing real estate, 10%, 10% down, 10% down. It's acquiring properties and rented them. And what I realized was, like you said, what most people don't realize is they're chasing cash. They're not chasing cash flow. And cash flow is the way to economic success.
Because cash is now.
Cash is now. Cash
Cash
is no
flows
value.
later.
Cash flow is continual.
Right.
Right. If I can grow that monthly drip in perpetuity for the rest of my life, I'm set and ready to go.
Yeah. So people need to do that, and I think for people that don't know how to do that, like it's just a matter of taking action, right? Like, what was the first house that you bought? The first rental property?
First house I ever bought was, again, I was 22 years old. We did 168 flips. There was a house in Desert Ridge that I never forgot. We paid $157,000 for this house. And I thought, I could actually live in this thing, right? It's right at the corner of the 51 and 101, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, pool, 1-story. And what I learned being in the business is I love 3-2s, I love single story, and I love a pool. Like, anyone is going to rent that. Yeah. And so I bought it, I think, from my business for $253,000. Didn't have a pot to piss in. All I had was a 5% down. Cost me like $8,800 to acquire this property. Scared to death. 4% loan, 30-year fixed. I think my net was $1,700-1,800 a month. But then I began to realize what most people don't understand is rents double every 10 years. If you look back in history, in populous growing areas, rents are doubling. So if I can acquire as much real estate at low interest debt, I can actually really gain from that arbitrage over a long period of time. And then once I paid that house off, I basically turned $8,500 into a $500,000 asset that pays me now $3,000 a month in perpetuity.
Right.
What a great investment.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Did you live there for a while?
Never lived there.
You never lived there?
I pretended to live there for 8.5 months.
You have to, right?
For the mortgage issue.
Yeah.
But I didn't live there only because I also believe proximity is power. If you want to be wealthy, you have to be amongst the wealthy. And so, like for me, I bought a house in Paradise Valley because I wanted to live in Paradise Valley. It's 1,400 square feet, right? It's $1 million place. It's small. It's nice. But it's in prime PV, 68th and Chaparral.
Yeah.
Right? So that construct of you have to be around what it is that you want to become. For me, I'm an empath. So the people that are around me, good or negative energy, I absorb it.
Sure.
And so I cannot be around a poverty, like based mindset, or I become that myself and I just implode.
I'm right there with you, bro. I have to be, you know, that's why I moved up here, right? Up in north, you know, the north area. I was in Old Town for a long time, which is cool for a time.
Right.
When I was a little bit younger, and then I'm like, dude, I got to get out of here. Like, I got to go up north, you know, like these dudes are partying every weekend, and that's cool for a short period of time, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, like, come on, like, what are we doing? What are we doing here, right?
Yeah.
And I'm totally with you. The law of association, right? And man, who you associate with, not only will you become, but people will immediately, even if you haven't even become that yet, assume that you are.
Correct.
You said that a little while ago,
100%.
right? So like if I start hanging around billionaires tomorrow, I mean, in a short period of time, people are going to assume like, man, Austin must be working on like a big $1 billion project with these guys. Even if I haven't even started nothing.
Right.
Just because like, I mean, imagine, right?
Association.
You see me on social media hanging out with Elon.
Right.
You're going to assume.
He's doing big things.
Even if I wasn't, right? And I think it's so interesting that you can create that. People don't understand, like, you can actually create that, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to do that, like, now, you know, how would you go? Like, obviously, your first rental property, it was a primary, right?
Right.
And that allowed you to put, like, 3 to 5% down, you talked about. How would you, you know, I think a lot of people struggle, right? They want to go buy, you know, single family, but they don't have the 20 or 25% down as an investment property, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do they... Would you recommend that people go and say, hey, man, I mean, obviously, like, because you can't say this is my primary on 3 or 4 properties at a time, right? It doesn't, I mean, to my knowledge, you know, I mean, maybe you could with different lenders, I don't know, you know, but.
So when you have nothing, you have to understand 3 constructs. 1, is this property going to go up over the long period of time? 2, what are the rents? 3, how am I going to get the money? Mm-hmm. And so for me, the reason I always focused on primaries is because my thought process was no matter what the economy does, if it has French oak floors, if it has stainless steel appliances, if it is good enough for me to live in, there has to be someone out there that's willing to pay me at least what I'm paying in my mortgage to rent this place.
Sure.
That was always my construct. Live in it 6 months to a year, remodel it, do a wedge deal, rent it for far greater than what I was paying in my mortgage. And I could duplicate that process.
Right.
And the reason I could continually duplicate that process is I began to realize by the time you get to 4 or 5, you've paid off the first one.
Right.
And you can continually do that in perpetuity. That's the easiest way to do it because it only requires one partner, the bank. When you give partners, it creates a lot of different construct because it's always a vacillating mercurial thing, right? Partners create complication. And so when you're dealing with people, you want to deal with something you can control. A bank is just money. Yep. Money is just paper, right? It's just something on a board that means something to someone.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with people, there's a lot of things involved, right? They expect things from you. You expect things from them. Oh, we didn't perform. We didn't do what we were going to say we were going to do. What do we do now? It's complicated. And so for me, what I always thought is, how do I create a system that I can duplicate over a long period of time that's only dependent on me and a bank and, you know, create wealth in perpetuity with it. And that's what I came up with because to answer your question, putting 20% down on a property, using it as a rental, I didn't like that construct because it took A, too much cash, B, higher interest rates, and C, you're not going to cash flow as quickly and as, you know, as advantageously if you would if it were your own primary.
Yeah, for sure. And you got a lot of money in the deal, like you said. And yeah, so even if you did cash flow, it's because you have so much money in the deal that you're able to cash flow, but then you're technically losing because you got all that money in the deal.
You're tied up.
It could be somewhere else, right? Or just be liquid, you know?
Exactly.
I love that. And I think, you know, like you said, I mean, you could do, I mean, in 10 years, you could do it 10 times. I mean, and that's just like ballparking it. You could do it more, but for sure, in 10 years, you could do it 10 times by playing by all of the rules, right, of the game, you know?
There's 3 things you want to look for. And a lot of people always say, what do I look for when I acquire a property? 1, is it rentable? Meaning, what's the location? What's the price? What are the rents? 2, how am I going to get the money? And if it's sub 4.5% money, you borrow as much as you can at 30-year fixed rates. Because when you look at history, right, there is constantly at minimum 3% inflation. So that will outpace that money that you're paying in the form of interest. And if rents are doubling every 10 years in a population growth area, you will become a multimillionaire over the course of a decade. That's how I became a millionaire.
Yeah.
At 27, I became a millionaire on paper, not because of what I earned. I didn't earn shit.
Yeah.
It was because of what I invested in and the amount of money I made based on that leverage in those properties.
You just have to start early. Like, people get that all screwed up. Like, they wait till they're 50, right? And I'm 27 now. you know.
Well, you're way ahead of me.
Well, you know, but I need to buy more property.
Yeah.
You know, I got a big company, which is that, so that's cool, right? I built multiple different companies that produce a lot of cash.
Yeah.
Right, which is awesome.
That's
you know,
great.
and I've got the platform, and I've got, you know, so now, but the one thing I messed up on was I didn't acquire enough property.
Yeah.
Right, and I'll openly admit that. I've told people that a million times. You know, and this is my year. So like for a guy like me or somebody watching, let's say interest rates aren't at 3 or 4, right? And they're at 7.
Yep.
Okay. Do you wait, or do you get it at 7, get a better deal on the acquisition because you're in a buyer's market, you could talk them down, and then just refi if the rates go down, or do you just stand on the sideline?
Here's my prognosis of what's going to happen the next 3 or 4 years. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but this is what I'm doing myself. The number one opportunity that I see in the markets right now is in the NASDAQ. Tech has just gotten crushed. 80% across the board, if not more. So I'm putting a lot of money in multiple companies across the board that are blue chip tech companies that have gone down 70, 80% or more.
Sure.
Because I think there's huge upside in the near term. The next step that I think is we're probably going to see in Arizona specifically, the lowest property values that will occur will probably be Q4 of 2023. Because I believe, I could be completely wrong, is that's when the Fed's going to shift their policy because they're going to throw us right into a recession, which in my mind we already are now.
Right.
And so what's going to happen is buyers, once they don't get enough people buying their properties, they're going to have to start to lower prices. And if you can get 10, 15% rescission on the property values of where they are today, that will offset higher interest rates that you're paying on the acquisition. But what people don't realize is, I'm paying more for the property in the form of debt, but hopefully in 2, 3, 4 years, I can reposition that debt, especially if it's a primary residence, and get that interest rate lower. It goes back to interest rate arbitrage. The third opportunity that I see that's happening right now is in multifamily. They're building so much multifamily right now with forward projection rents that I think that whole thing is going to come to a head in 2 to 3 years because they're not going to get the rent rolls that they think they're going to get, and those values and those NOIs are going to tighten, and with that, there's going to be opportunity.
They're building a lot of Class A multifamily too, right? I mean, like, dude, you drive around. They're building another Optima. They're the 5th Optima, I think, in Arizona. I live at Optima right now.
I live in a lot of the Optimas too.
The one right here. I lived in the other one too back in the day. And I'm just living there for a short period of time until I buy another primary. But man, I'll tell you, the rent at the Optima, dude, even in the market we're in right now, I'm like blown away. I mean, what I pay in rent is like, I mean, you know, and it doesn't matter how much money you make. Like, I still look at it every month. I'm like, God, this is just a waste of money, you know? So I hate that part of it, but I mean, you know, the cold plunge is nice, and the you know, the jacuzzi and the gym,
and that's where they suck you in, high end amenities, right?
That's where and I'd have a gym membership if I didn't live there at Lifetime Fitness, and that'd be $300-400 a month, and I'd go, you know, so I mean, I guess you gotta figure it out for yourself, right?
100%.
But I'm with you on buying property and acquiring property, and I think I agree 100% actually on the prediction of the market. I think in 2024, my only thing is I've talked to a lot of people that believe in 2024. Again, nobody's got a crystal ball.
No one does.
But I've talked to a lot of people in 2024 that think that the market will go on a bull run again because of politics and people want to make everything look good for the election, and they're going to pump the market, and, you know.
Well, soon what happens, as soon as they, lessly tighten monetary policy, we're going to have a huge, come up in real estate values again. Because, again, it's just a balancing act. What people don't realize is everyone says, what do I do now? What do I do now? If you can't find the right deal and you can't pencil the right deal, put as much money as you can at 4.5% interest rates in cash and wait. And just put as much cash on the sidelines as you can, because people aren't doing that, right? If you're looking at global politics, people are getting into more credit card debt. They're accumulating more loans. And they're putting themselves behind the 8 ball because the debt they're accruing is 2 times more expensive than where it was a year and a half ago.
Right.
So they don't understand that construct, right? Most people don't realize you have to go to 0 before you go to 1 million. What I mean by that is consumer debt is the succubus of generational wealth. Anything consumer debt is student loans, car payments, credit card payments, all that shit has no value. Once you get past that, and once you don't have any more consumer debt, the only consumer debt you should have in debt in general is money-making products like your business and or real estate. That's the only debt anyone should have.
I love that. You said a little while ago that you're bullish on the tech sector of the stock market, being that it's down 80, whatever, depending on the company's down, the whole sector's down a lot, right? What, if you don't mind me asking, what are a couple of the companies that you're bullish on that you think in the next couple of years?
So, anything that you bet on as individual investments, I think is very tricky. And the reason I think that is because you probably have a lot of EXP stock, as do I. Great company. Love the company. Great balance sheet. The problem is it's one company. So what I put a lot of money into is levered ETFs that follow and track hundreds of companies. So like, for example, I mean, again, this is not financial advice, none of that stuff. But one of the things I'm invested heavily in right now is a UPRO. Okay. Or not UPRO, sorry, TQQQ, which is a triple levered NASDAQ. And the reason I like it and the reason I'm fairly confident that over a period of time it's going to go up is I always look at opportunities that are different as far as risk versus reward, right? So for me, this NASDAQ has already come down 70 to 80% from its highs. Can it go to zero? Highly unlikely. Right. Can it go lower? Could be. Yeah. But in the meantime, I'm going to earn 0.5% on just holding that stock. And I know for an effing fact that in 2 to 5 years, those values will be worth more on paper than they are today.
For sure.
Because they run our world. Google, Amazon, Tesla, Adobe, all these companies run our world and they run millennials. Yeah. And so, for me, if you want to hedge against real estate, one of the things that was interesting is when I was interviewing Adam, who's the co-founder of Credit.com, he was telling me, he says, a lot of my wealthier friends have 10% of their net worth in cash and cash equivalents. Wow. Like, that is a lot of cash. And the reason they have it is for opportunities that come up that have asymmetric risk, right? So if you have the ability to say, I can triple, quadruple my money quite safely and or lose half of it, I'm going to make that bet.
For sure.
Because if I lose 50 grand on a $100,000 investment, that far outweighs me making 400,000 on the same investment.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. I'm with you, and I think that I love the ETF. I love where you're investing in an ETF or something similar where it's tracking a multitude of companies as opposed to just one. I do think there are and again, not financial advice, but like Tesla, dude. I mean, you can't. I mean, dude, like I bought a bunch of Tesla I think 2 weeks ago at $110 a share. Yeah. Could it go lower? Sure. Yeah. Right. In 5 years, is it going to be $500 a share? I don't see how it couldn't. Yeah. Right. So I mean, I agree with you. I think that there's just a lot of money to be made there too. And I'm not a big stock guy.
I'm not either. I hate them. I hate them, but I look at opportunity and I look at asymmetric risk because I think you need 3 pots. One is real estate. My belief has always been you should have 70 to 80% of your net worth in real estate. And the reason being is, A, it's kind of illiquid, so you don't have access to it, which is good for long-term wealth creation. It's there. You don't know it's there, but if you need it, it's there. The second is cash. You need to have cash, and most people don't have more than a couple months of cash and living expenses. My thought process, talking to high net worth 9-figure guys, most of them have 1 to 2 years of a runway. And third is you have to invest in companies that are already in place, that have the track record, that have that income, and invest heavily when they're down as far as they are.
Yeah, for sure. I could not agree more, man. I think it really is good practical takeaways, right? That people I think can internalize, obviously make their own decision, talk to their financial advisor, whatever. But ultimately, I mean, like you're probably going to get told the same thing,
And get out of consumer debt. Yeah. Like if you have a car, the car thing is a big thing because I'm the first that was guilty. I mean, I was 25 when I bought my Aston Martin DB9. Everyone's like, "You're nuts." This is important to me. Yep. And I had it and I realized it wasn't, And so for me, all I can say is stop looking at other people's movie and start creating your own. When you look at our highlight reels, we're driving fancy cars, going on these trips, doing these things. We're projecting our best self forward for sure to help market ourselves and our constituents. But what most people don't realize, that's not day-to-day life. No. We're grinding, we're hustling. There's a lot of negative self-talk. There's a lot of doubt in everything that we do, but we keep going. If people realize like, hey, I can do this myself. If not, let's learn. Yeah. They're going to go a lot farther in their lives.
And I love that. You hit the nail right on the head. I think, and we're even guilty of that, right?
100%.
We've got to be careful that we're not looking, and I do it, and I'm guilty of it 100%, right? Looking at the next guy, oh man, like look what he did. He's just a couple years older than me. I gotta step it up, right? I gotta get my butt in gear. And I got to be really careful not to look at that crap, right? Because I've learned this many times, but a lot of times those same guys are looking at me, and they'll never admit it. And there's different aspects of what I've built that they wish they had.
100%.
Right. And
look what you've created in your business. I'm very envious, but in a good way.
Right.
Because I'm like, this guy at 27 has created something very unique. And my hat's off to you, because I think that's great. And the difference is, you ever want to know a winner, no matter what they have in their bank account, is they want to see other winners succeed. They never want to take someone down.
Yep.
And that's what I don't understand about our business in general. It's so ultra competitive. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. Well, that's great, but in reality, that means nothing. What do you want to see in your world? Who do you want to associate yourself with? Do you want them to succeed? I want everyone to succeed, so I can learn from them and in turn become more successful myself.
Right, 1,000,000%. Yeah. I couldn't agree more, man. And I think that's how you determine if the person's a winner or not. Like, I'll get a hater every now and then, right? I'm like, you're not a winner. I immediately know, right? I really do. I immediately know, and I don't reply, I don't engage, I'm not that guy. I don't, but I immediately know they're not a winner.
Yeah.
And their head is in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't be giving me any of your time and energy to hate on me if you had it going on.
That's
right? Because I know I don't have time.
No.
I don't hate on nobody. No. I have zero time for that, right? Yep. And if I don't have time for that, I know that if they're doing big things, they don't have time for that either. Talk to me about being a real estate agent. We've talked about the development stuff. We've talked about your journey of flipping homes and buying rental properties and the coaching company and the relationship stuff. Talk to me about we're with the same brokerage. You're an agent, I'm an agent. How long have you been an agent?
I got my license when I was 18.
Okay.
And I got my license when I was 18 because my dad told me, he says, this is something you're going to use the rest of your life. So I turned 18. I remember getting my license, didn't know what a Binzer was, didn't know what inspection was, didn't know anything. And so this is a great example for agents just starting out. I knew nothing. But what I did know is what I learned through osmosis, being in the room, learning from my father, learning from my parents. And what I did is I was lucky because I got to sell or at least co-list a lot of the houses that we flipped. And so I started to realize, okay, how do I transact? How do I get top dollar? What needs to be done? And so, for me, to be honest with you, I think one of the things that I've always struggled with is when I control my own product, I control my own destiny.
Yep.
When I bring clients into the fold, unless I really respect their mindset, it creates complication. Because when I list a property, I want it painted, I want it staged, I want it perfect, I want the best photography, I want the best videography. And if they're not on the same page, I say use someone else. Because this is a continuation and reflection not only of them, but of my brand. And so for me, that's one of the things that I think I have not put enough effort into being a good real estate agent, is because I've always thought if I can control my product, like the house that you saw, and it's perfect, I know I can create the best result for myself.
Right. Yeah, I love that. So you've been an agent for a long time then. I actually, funny enough, I became an agent when I was 18.
Yeah.
And man, same type of thing. My mentor at the time told me, because I was wholesaling.
Yeah.
And so I was already in real estate, but he's like, dude, you got to become an agent.
Yeah.
You got to, there's a lot of things, and I really didn't know what he was talking about at the time. But he's like, you can double dip and you can do this and you can do that. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Right. But like, I did it. I didn't question it, right? I just said, okay, well, this guy knows more than I do.
Right.
So I may as well go get my license, right? And man, I really am grateful that I did that,
Me too.
Were you with a different brokerage?
So my father and I had our own brokerage, and we still have it. It's called R&B Luxury, and that is kind of the acquisition arm for a lot of our own deals. We still run it through there because we can control it.
Yep.
EXP came at a different juncture. And it was a blessing because obviously, we built Brian and Christy Colhane's home up in Troon.
Sure.
And that was a very interesting relationship. And I know you had him on recently.
Yeah.
He's a character.
We haven't dropped that one yet. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And
I love Colhane, but he is a character, man. I'll tell
you.
That was almost a 2-hour pod.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Colhane has just vibrant energy. And so when they wanted to create that house, it was such a gift and a blessing that they wanted us to build it for them. Because that was their dream. That was the 12 years of work helping found EXP and create that into the manifestation. And the result's quite amazing. I mean, he helped curate and we helped build an amazing property for them. But at the same time, it was introduced to me because he brought on Tarek, right? So Tarek El Moussa, who's also one of my partners, I didn't know him. I saw him from afar. I saw the shows, saw all those things. And Brian introduced the introduction. And just kind of went from there. And I thought, what an amazing platform EXP has created internationally.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can be a big fish in a small local pond, or I can be a small fish in a global pond and reach people I would have never met if I just kept to my own little circle in Phoenix.
Sure.
And that was a blessing. And I think many people look at it and don't understand how powerful this company is. They really don't get it.
I have no idea.
They don't get it because they don't understand that it's not a multi-level marketing scheme or any of those things. It's a multi-level generational wealth thing that you can actually create for thousands of people you touch if they have the work ethic and they have the business acumen.
I agree.
You fail as a real estate agent because you fail to cultivate business. And cultivating business in perpetuity, especially in a down market, is very difficult for anybody, even with resources.
Right.
But if you stick through it, if you learn, if you keep on going, you're going to be very successful in this game.
Yeah, and it is saying a lot that you walked away. I mean, not walked. You still have your brokerage, obviously, but you took your ego and your pride. Because I see a lot of people, man, I got a big brokerage. I've got a big team. I've got blah blah blah. I've been with Keller Williams. I've been with Coldwell Bank. Great. Hey, I'm happy for you, bro. But have you looked at it?
Yeah.
Like, have you actually looked at the model? Because that was me. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Cole Hain called me in 2018. And I said, I'm not interested, right?
Yeah, me too.
And somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
2018, 2019, whatever. And 2019, or the year after, he called me, whatever. And he'd follow up with me probably twice a year, I'm not interested, right? And dude, I'll be honest with you, I never looked at it. I never looked at it. I thought I knew. I didn't know. And it took me 3 years, basically, of saying no, to wake up one day and I said, man, like, what if there's something I'm missing here, right? Like, and I looked at it. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it, right? And then the next thing I knew, I was moving and my whole team moved with me, Best decision I ever made, right? Yeah. And I was only at one brokerage before, so I'm not a guy to jump around.
Where were you before?
My home group.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, great company.
Yeah, no, Mark. I knew Jeremy Clevin and Mark Hutchins, great, phenomenal human beings, and I knew them for a long time. And I was like the 100th agent that they had. I mean, I was there like when they were a little bitty, right? Yeah. And they were good buddies, and there was nothing wrong with that brokerage. And I've told people, I talk to people, I tell them, I say, hey, phenomenal brokerage, phenomenal people, just as I think every brokerage probably is. Phenomenal people. But I got to a point where I looked around and I said, but now what?
Yeah.
Like, but what else is there, right? And so it wasn't that they inherently did anything wrong.
Right.
There was things that I felt were missing that I don't even think anybody knew.
Yeah.
Right. And that is what I think got me looking. Yeah. Right. And so I think it's interesting to hear you talk about the model.
Well, here's an allegory. Regardless, it could be X real estate brokerage, but this is life. So many people are looking over their shoulder trying to compete against other people around them. Big mistake. And the reason I think it's a big mistake is when you look to compete, you look to fail. Because there's always going to be somebody stronger, smarter, richer, better, whatever it is, right? But here's an allegory for you that I was told at a young age, which I love. Pretend you're a horse in the Kentucky Derby, right? You have blinders on. Gate goes off and you're running your ass off, right? This is life. This is the biggest race of your life. You're running. You finally look up and you see all these horses in front of you and you're like, oh shit, I'm way behind. This is life, right? You're looking around, seeing all these people are more successful than me. We all feel that at some time or another. You're running, and finally you go across the finish line, the confetti comes out, and they say, Austin, you won. Well, how could I have won when all these horses were in front of me? You didn't know you were a lap ahead of them the whole time. You didn't even know it.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's life, you know, and that's what people don't realize is I've seen behind the curtain of ultra-wealthy people. A lot of them have poor marriages. A lot of them are in a lot of debt. A lot of them have business issues. A lot of them have children issues. Whatever it is, no life is perfect except the life you create for yourself.
Wow.
So stop looking at everyone else and start focusing on yourself and saying, I am successful. I am this person. I emulate what it is I want to be, and I'm going to live the life that I want.
I love that.
Stop looking around.
I love that. Yeah. What would you say are the main things that EXP had that attracted you to that company?
Well, the first thing that it had is, for me, I knew Brian from afar, and then I obviously knew his finances once I started building his house. Sure. And I saw the stock go to Pluto, you know, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I mean, this is crazy. What's going on here? What am I missing? And obviously what it was an amazing chain of events where interest rates were low, right? COVID happened, everything went online, and it became the golden child of the stock market for 5 to 6 months. And I saw his net worth rise exponentially. And I got to meet Glenn Sanford, got to meet Grant Cardone, got to meet a lot of people that I looked at from afar on YouTube and celebrities, etc. And I thought, let's just take a flyer. Let's just take a risk. Let's meet people. Because for me, Austin, this has always been the most exciting part of my life, is having conversations like this with other people that I can learn from. And so I thought, let's learn. And what I liked about EXP is I liked the model. I saw that there was a lot of ability long-term to create substantial wealth. But I realized it wasn't the model. It was the people attached to the model that could create significant value.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest problem that any real estate brokerage is going to run into, whether it's EXP, whether it's Real, whether it's anything that's out in the marketplace today, is the agents that it attracts. Because you're either a winner, or you're trying to be a winner, or you're a Debbie Downer, and ultimately you're a loser. And the construct is, who are you? What do you believe in your mind? What is your self-talk? And what are you doing daily that no one sees to put you in the winner's circle? It's hard.
If you're a real estate agent or a real estate wholesaler, then you know that lead generation is one of the most important aspects to any business. You know that you have to consistently generate leads on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. That way your team has people to call, and that way you're constantly getting new opportunities in your company. I actually partnered up with a company called Rocket Lead Services, and they have VAs that are outbound cold calling on your behalf every single day. In my experience, there's a lot of different ways that you can generate leads as an agent or as a wholesaler. You can do pay-per-click, you can drive for dollars, you can do text messaging, you can do Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and so much more. In my experience, I believe that cold calling is by far the #1 way to generate leads in 2022. Not only is it my favorite way, but it is the highest ROI from what I've ever found. So Rocket Lead Services is one of the best companies out there for doing just that. They have virtual assistants that get assigned to you and to you only, that are constantly calling motivated sellers to generate leads for your business. Again, this is for anybody looking to generate seller leads for their business. This is for a solo real estate agent looking to do a couple of deals a month, all the way to teams that have over 100 agents and you're looking to generate more leads for your team. Wholesalers that are looking to generate more seller leads, all the way to wholesalers that are looking to do many, many deals per month. Go to www.rocketleadservices.com and go ahead and book your free consultation. Again, that is www.rocketleadservices.com and book your free consultation. Now, let's get back to the show. Very difficult.
I say this all the time, but success is expensive. And it's expensive because rent is due every day, and that price keeps going up.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love the brokerage. I think that the reason I joined was exactly the reason you joined. It was collaboration over competition.
Correct.
I looked at the brokerage model, and again, nothing against any other brokerage out there, but I looked at the brokerage model, and I realized that at every other brokerage model that I could find, nobody wanted to give, really. Nobody wanted me to get to their level. Like I was supposed to be their friend, and we would go get a beer, and we would go hang out, but they didn't really want me to get to their level, at the end of the day. So therefore, they wouldn't really fully ever give me all the tools and all the tips and everything I needed to get to that level, right? How do I go from 100 million to 500 million? How do I go from 500 million to $1 billion, right? What do I do, And then I looked at this model, and because they were not financially incentivized to do so, right? And I looked at this model and I said, this is the only model at the time where the top of the top, the cream of the crop, they would completely open their playbook and give it to me. If I said, hey, I need to understand your listing presentation. What do you do? What's your transaction coordination workflow?
Right.
What's give that to me, right? I want your email templates. I want to see how you do that. How do you get that many reviews? Like what is your website? Who built your website, right? Like all kinds of things you could imagine, right? And this was the company where I realized I could send an email or a text or make a phone call to somebody who had done way more than I've done. And within a minute, they were willing to send it all over to me. I called Jennifer Wayner the other day. I said, hey, Jen, I need your whole transaction coordination outline. And in a minute, It was in my email.
Oh, that's great.
Right? She does $350 million a year in real estate, right? Runs a big mega team, you know?
Right.
I never got that before.
Yeah.
Like people talked about wanting to help, but it never looked like that.
Right.
You know? And so for me, the stock and the revenue share, that was a byproduct.
Right.
I went there because I wanted people to help me sell more real estate.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think that's what people miss. And I think, you know, unfortunately, there are people within the brokerage that have done a bad job of promoting it, right?
100%.
And therefore, people get a bad taste in their mouth. Oh, it's just about the revenue share, and it's just about recruiting people. And honestly, I've never hardly put any emphasis on that at all. Yeah. And I attract people. Yeah. I don't outbound cold call people and say, hey, do you want to join my team? I've never done that a day in my life. I've never sent a cold email.
Because you have a halo effect, right? It's magnetic. People want to be around people doing what it is that they want to do. And I mean, for me, I always thought there's 3 levels of people. You have a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, and an investorpreneur. And for me, I was always good as an entrepreneur, an investorpreneur, never really good as a solopreneur. And I'll tell you why. Like real estate agents, I've known a lot of them. And I've met Altman, I've met Flag, I've met all these top guys. They're all clowns in their own way, extremely good at what they do. But I always thought, God, being a realtor has just a real negative connotation, right? It's just kind of like, ugh. But what's interesting is being a realtor at the highest possible level and being a professional is you learn what it is that they're doing, right? So many realtors are good at selling and buying houses for clients, but they can't go over into entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is being able to combine multiple personalities and people to create something bigger than just yourself, right? Having that passive income grow over a long period of time to create financial independence for you and your family. The third level, investorpreneur, is how do you take what you already have, use the resources that you've accumulated and not take time, but take all your resources financially and grow them exponentially with those people that you have around you. Many people are bad at 2 and 3, but they're good at 1. Yeah. See, I was good at 2 and 3. I was bad at 1. So it's kind of a reverse dynamic of, wow, you're a great investor, you're a great guy with money, but you're a good real estate agent, but you do your own deals. And I said, well, that's because I can control it.
Right.
You know, so it's, again, that's why I love this conversation, is because I can learn, like, I'd love to be a, 9-figure personal real estate agent and do all those things because I focus my life on residual income and real estate acquisition, not on servicing clients in that way. I have, but not to that level. And so it's a great dynamic.
It is a phenomenal dynamic. And 2022 was the first year I didn't sell a single home.
Oh, interesting.
In my career.
Yeah.
The year before that, I sold a lot of real estate, I have 20 million, 22 million, something like that, personally, right?
That's fantastic.
And then on top of what my team did.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2022 was the first year I didn't do a single deal, and it was our best year best year yet, But now we're building the team, and we've got a lot of people on our team, and it's a lot of work, right? Yeah. What are your thoughts on the future of the brokerage that we're at, EXP?
I think if it can weather the storm, and the thing is, success follows speed. And what EXP has done quickly, especially with a lot of people that brought in individuals that were great recruiters, is we recruited a lot of successful agents over a short period of time. Stock market saw that, stock exploded. And then what happened was, in my mind, in early 2022, as interest rates popped up, people know, real estate stocks and brokerage stocks are going to go to hell in a handbasket. But if you can weather the storm, real estate has always been, over a long period of time, the best investment people can make.
Agreed.
Because it's the only investment that you can take $1, leverage it safely into $5 or more, and over a long period of time, have it grow in value, have the best tax advantages, and create cash flow.
Agreed. Yep. So as an agent, you've got to weather this storm, stay in the game, right? So does our brokerage, we're in 22 countries.
Right.
We've got 90,000. What do we have now? 90,000?
Yeah, 89,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you think that those numbers look like in 5 or 10 years? Do you think we're at 1 million? I mean, where do you think we?
God, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But I really think what's going to happen is, in the short term, you're going to see a drop off of agents, because a lot of agents, 50 or 60%, aren't really doing any deals.
Sure.
They're just kind of floating around. And the problem with that is, if you don't take it as a career, you don't take it as a business, or it's not a necessity auxiliary business to your current business, people are going to want to go to a salary.
Yeah.
Period. That's just how people are, right? They base their things on moment-by-moment survival, not on long-term acquisition. Yeah. So in my mind, what I see happening is, It's a satiated marketplace. You're going to have a lot of brokerages try to copy EXP, which they already have. You're going to have a lot of people succeed in this market if they stick to the fundamentals and they grow their personal brand. The beauty of what we've created is EXP is not the brand. Austin Zaback is the brand. Michael Banovac's the brand. We are our own brands. And those individuals smart enough to cultivate a brand that goes beyond their brokerage are the ones that are going to succeed in this business.
Agreed. Yep. And do you think the competitors that are now trying to copy that model will have success? I mean, like...
Well, here's the thing. Anyone that's trying to copy EXP's model and it's publicly traded, I'm going to buy a shitload of their stock, too. Just to hedge my bets. Because again, I don't know who's going to win and who's going to lose, but I can probably bet with certainty that Austin Zaback is going to win and Michael Banovac is going to win.
Agreed.
Because the truth is, again, you can't tie your one idea to one company. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of things that change. I mean, you look at the Dow, right? The Dow 30. Those companies that were in the top 30 businesses in 1970, none of them are on there today. Marketplaces change. Things change. Things that are hot today aren't hot tomorrow. That'll always change. But what won't change are constructs and macroeconomic events and people willing to take risks to do something more.
Wow, I love that. And I completely agree. It makes you wonder, you know, like I was talking to Brian Colhane, right? And he basically said, you know, any company that, like, well, he was talking about real estate, right? Any brokerage that comes along, you know, Gary Keller, he was one of the first guys, right? He took a new model and he turned the industry upside down on its head, and they became the biggest and the best, right?
They did.
And then really Glenn Sanford came along and did it again, right? And there's always going to be copycats, you know? So, and that's where I always, you know, and I'll be honest with you, I get a lot of calls right now of people that are like, dude, come to Real.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I'll be honest with you, too, and I'll be honest with anybody watching, I have no interest. I'm not going to be that guy that jumps around. You know? I mean, it's the same thing. They didn't do anything different, in my opinion. It is not grandiose enough, in my opinion, to make a move. Right? Okay, the revenue share is a tiny bit different, and this is just a little bit different, and that's just a little bit different. But ultimately, it's the same thing.
Same thing.
Right? So for me, now, had I started at Real, the opposite's true. I would just stay with Real, right? But for me, in full honesty, I'm not going to make a move, you know? And I see a lot of people moving right now, though. You know, and Colhane, you know, we talked about it for a while, and he said, you know, a lot of and unfortunately, and I hate to be, you know, but he said a lot of the people that are moving are people that couldn't figure it out over here, and now they're going over there. Paul
Newman had a great quote. He says, "Why would I have a cheeseburger and have a filet mignon at home?"
Right.
It's no different than relationships, right? You could have a woman that's unbelievable, your fiance, let's take her for example, or my girlfriend, unbelievable. Why would you even look on the other side of the fence when you know you have someone so spectacular and so special? Doesn't make any logical sense, because grass is always greener on the other side until you jump the fence and it's yellow.
Right. Yeah. I'll tell you what.
That's life, right? We're always looking, oh, what are they doing? Oh, what are they doing differently? And they're doing the same thing to us. You know what I mean? So the truth is, you create your own reality. You create your own happiness. And the way I've really figured out to create happiness, stop listening to the noise. Stop being a reader of other people's information and start creating your own. What does your perfect life look for you? It's totally different for everyone. And stop realizing and saying, oh, this company is going to be my savior. This deal is going to save my life. No, you're going to save it yourself.
I couldn't agree more.
You know, it's not a deal. It's not a product. It's not a business. It's you.
I love it, dude. Well, I know we've been here for a while. Your time's valuable. What do you what's your future look like? What are you going to do in the next 3 to 5 years as a whole? I mean, and it could be in any area of life, in any company that you're running, anything that you're attempting. What are you looking like you're going to do?
I'd love to acquire more real estate. I love to grow passive as much as possible. And for me, I think it's just get in front of as many people as possible and help them grow to their highest echelon. Because for me, I always believe, I go back to the cornerstone of my relationship business. You must become the best version of yourself to attract the best in others. Be really cognizant of your self-talk. Make sure that you truly believe you're doing everything in your power to be a success. And if you're not, make a change.
Wow. So powerful, man. Yeah. Self-talk's a hard thing.
Really is. I struggle with it. I'm sure you do too.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Every day.
You must think you are great. And the reason I say that is because if you don't, no one else will.
For sure.
And there's always people, always critics out there. The higher you rise, the more they want to see you fall. And you cannot allow that criticism to ingest in your life, because the moment it does, you allow, hurt to come in, and unfortunately, we all are subject to that. But you got to keep going.
You got to keep going, man, and you got to watch what you're thinking about, and you've got to self-correct in real time.
Yes.
That's what I've learned, right, over time. It's just it's a minute by minute act.
Correct.
It isn't this. I don't get to this like moment in time where this big change occurs, right? It's minute by minute.
Yeah.
I catch myself. I'm being negative.
Yeah.
I have anxiety. Why do I have anxiety?
Yeah.
There's no reason to have it.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
Like and you gotta self-correct.
Yeah.
In real time.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do.
It's a journey, not a destination. You never. Oh, if I was a millionaire, my life would change. Let me tell you the expense. It gets more complicated.
Yeah.
Because you feel you have something to lose.
You've way more to lose.
You have a lot to lose. You feel, oh my God. Oh, you become, instead of this abundance mindset, you play not to lose as opposed to win. And there's something about my 20s that I look back at, and I'm like, God, I was so hungry. I was so ambitious. I was so much of what I loved. And now you have all these things, or you've accumulated and done all these things. You realize, I need to get back to that mindset, that hunger, that desire, that ability to want to help people and grow. And it's something you got to do daily.
You do.
Yeah.
Man, I love that. Is there anything right now in your life that you're working through, that you're fearful of, or that is kind of a personal thing that you kind of have going on where you're battling it, or and you're hoping to progress in the future?
Well, we have a couple deals we're working on. We're doing a fourplex right now that we're going to add to our portfolio off of Glendale and 16th Street, which we're excited about. We're about 6 months out there. We're building an $8 million spec in Paradise Valley. We have 3 lots off of 32nd Camelback. There's a lot of construction deals we're doing. And to be honest with you, again, my risk mitigation brain is like, what does the outlook, what does the world look like in 2 to 3 years?
Yeah.
And one thing I've realized with entrepreneurship is you must constantly be looking at a positive light ahead.
You have to.
The moment you see negativity, you have to correct yourself and say, no, tomorrow's going to be great, because that's what hope is. Hope and work ethic is only constructed in a positive construct when you believe tomorrow is going to be better than today.
I love that.
And that's what I look forward to. Hopefully tomorrow is better than today.
Right. Yep. So take your fear. You've got to put that to the side. We're always going to have fear.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, the market could freaking tank and fall, and it's you-know-what, and you could lose everything. But, like, you can't think like that, man.
Well, and you got to think of riches in life. I look at myself and I said, man, I'm a rich person. It's not because of money. It's not because of real estate. It's because I have a beautiful woman in my life. I have a great family life. We get to do things like this. We have great friends, right? We have a business. We have something that gets us up every day, that gives us purpose. That's wealth.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how much you have in the bank. You're always going to want more. It doesn't matter what you own. You always want something better, right? You have a Lambo. Now you want a Ferrari. Now you want a Bugatti. Now you want the next best thing.
Yeah.
And then it gets to a point where you're like, I have all this shit. What do I do now?
Right.
And if you're not helping people grow and you don't have a purpose that gets you up every day, you're going to be a real sad person.
You are. And I, dude, I've been there already in my life. There's been times where I bought the Lamborghini. I thought that was it. I've traveled. I went there. I went here. I went to the club. I did, and like, dude, I was not happy.
Agreed.
I mean, I might have been happy for a minute and a half.
Yep.
But like dude, like people talk about like, oh man, like, and I'm a car guy.
I love cars.
Love cars. Dude, and I'm talking like a week.
Yeah.
I mean, like the dopest car, like, dude, honestly,
what was
like,
your best car you've ever owned?
I liked my Huracan a lot.
Yeah.
I had a Huracan. I bought Cody Sperber's Huracan.
Oh, very cool.
Back in the day.
Purple one?
The one before the white. He had a white one back in the day.
White
Yeah.
one. Very cool.
You might have remembered that one. I don't know.
Saw
But
it,
white and red, and red wheels, and man, that was a cool car. But even after a week, dude, it was normal.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it didn't. It was cool. Don't get me wrong. But like after a week of owning it, like it wasn't like I walked into the garage and I was like every day it felt the same way it did on day one.
Yep.
It very quickly became normal.
Yep.
Right. And I think that's where you're talking like, hey man, like you got to be careful that you don't think that when I get fill in the blank, then I'll be happy.
Yep.
You're putting your happiness in the future now.
Yep.
When I fill in the blank, then I'll be happy. That doesn't work. Right. How can you be happy right now? And that's the thing that I'm still working on.
Here's a relationship construct for you. Girls always say this, guys do too. Like, what are we? What are we? What are we going to be? What does the future have in store? And I always tell people this: if your relationship is good in the moment, it's positive, sex is great, the conversation is great, you look up to one another, they are somebody that you're like, wow, like their mind is equivalent, if not smarter than mine. Greta Garbo had a great quote. She said, always seduce a person's mind before you ever touch their body. And that's the truth, because when you look at it and you say to yourself and your partner, this person is someone that I look up to and they look up to me, you've hit a jackpot.
Yeah.
And so many people don't look at that in the way the world works. Oh, she's hot. Oh, he's great. Oh, he's rich. All those things become irrelevant when you're behind closed doors and you have to talk to one another.
Agreed.
You have to find someone that has the ideology to want to grow. That's what life is, growth.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I think we end on that. It's a mic drop if you ask me, you know. Michael, where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Michael Banovac, LinkedIn, Facebook, and our website is rmbluxury.com.
Love it. Okay. And I'll link all your information down below. So if you're watching, appreciate you watching. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, comment down below. If you're listening, would love if you could leave a review. Definitely go check out Michael's information. And man, I just appreciate you being here, man. I know
Thanks for having me, Austin.
Your time's valuable.
Really
I'll be on yours soon.
You will.
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing your story too.
Looking forward to it, man. Thanks
again.